The golden age of Hollywood shimmered with glamour, where every star seemed sculpted by divine hands. Perfect faces, flawless styles, and hair that cascaded or slicked back with impossible precision. But beneath the spotlight, a secret hid in plain sight. Baldness, the unspoken foe of Tinseltown's elite, was masked by the magic of wigs. From sultry sirens to rugged heroes, some of cinema's greatest icons relied on carefully crafted hairpieces to maintain their mythic allure. Today, we pull back the curtain on 15 legendary stars who fooled the world with borrowed locks. Elizabeth Taylor. In 1963, the world watched Elizabeth Taylor transform into Cleopatra, her raven black locks framing those violet eyes like a crown of night. The film, a $44 million spectacle, demanded perfection, and Taylor delivered. But whispers from the set tell a different story. Behind the opulent costumes and kohl-rimmed gazes, her iconic mane was often a wig, a necessity born of chronic hair issues. Taylor's hair troubles began early. Her lush, dark tresses, a hallmark of her beauty in films like National Velvet, 1944, suffered from years of harsh styling. According to makeup artist Alberto de Rossi's interviews, archived in Hollywood's oral history collections, Taylor's scalp endured relentless dyeing and teasing, leading to thinning by her late 20s. By the time Cleopatra's cameras rolled, wigs were her secret weapon. Crafted by Italian artisans, these hairpieces blended seamlessly with her natural hair, creating an illusion so convincing that audiences never suspected. Yet this wasn't just about aesthetics. Taylor's transformation into Cleopatra required a larger-than-life presence, and wigs allowed her to embody the Egyptian queen without risking further damage to her scalp. Studio records from 20th Century Fox, accessible through film archives, revealed that her wig collection for the film numbered over a dozen, each tailored for specific scenes, some sleek and straight, others voluminous and curled. Off-screen, Taylor embraced wigs for convenience, swapping styles to match her mood or role. The genius lay in the secrecy. Co-stars like Richard Burton, in private letters published posthumously, marveled at her ability to make every look seem effortless. Fans saw only the goddess, not the calculated artistry. Taylor's reliance on wigs wasn't vanity. It was survival in an industry that equated beauty with divinity. Her story sets the stage for the others, where image and illusion danced a delicate tango under Hollywood's unforgiving lights. Humphrey Bogart. Picture this: a smoky room, a fedora tilted just so, and Humphrey Bogart's gravelly voice cutting through the haze. The star of Casablanca, 1942, was the epitome of cool, his slicked-back hair as iconic as his trench coat. But here's the twist, sweetheart. This tough guy's hairline was playing a disappearing act, and nobody was supposed to notice. Bogart's balding began in his 30s, a fact pieced together from studio photos and makeup artist testimonies found in Hollywood Reporter archives. By The Maltese Falcon, 1941, his signature look relied on a discreet toupee, crafted to mimic his natural hair. According to Perk Westmore, a legendary makeup artist quoted in a 1960s biography, Bogart's toupees were so well made that even co-stars like Ingrid Bergman rarely caught on. The fedora, though, was his real accomplice. It shaded his scalp, deflected wind, and added that noir mystique. Off-screen, Bogart leaned into the joke. Lauren Bacall, in her memoir By Myself, 1978, recalled him quipping about his rug during late-night poker games, but always with a wink that kept the secret safe. He knew the score, Hollywood sold dreams, and a receding hairline didn't fit the script. His toupees evolved with his roles, from the slick detective in The Big Sleep, 1946, to the grizzled adventurer in The African Queen, 1951, each piece tailored to the character's grit. The illusion held because Bogart played it smart. He avoided roles that demanded exposed scalps and leaned on hats or clever camera angles. Studio lighting, as detailed in cinematography journals from the era, was adjusted to soften any telltale edges. Bogart's legacy as a tough guy endures, not because of his hair, but because he owned the screen with a confidence that no wig could fake. Jean Harlo. Jean Harlo's platinum blonde hair wasn't just a style, it was a revolution. In the 1930s, her shimmering locks in films like Platinum Blonde, 1931, set a standard for glamour that defined an era. But that radiant crown came at a cost. Behind the dazzling close-ups, Harlo's scalp paid the price for her iconic look, and wigs became her silent partner. Harlo's signature blonde required relentless bleaching, a process detailed in beauty columns from Photoplay magazine, 1930s. Ammonia and peroxide stripped her natural hair, causing thinning and breakage by her mid-20s. Studio memos, preserved in MGM archives, reveal that by dinner at 8, 1933, Harlo relied on wigs for most scenes. These weren't cheap hairpieces, they were custom-made by Max Factor, the makeup pioneer, who blended real hair with synthetic fibers for a natural sheen. Hollywood guarded her secret like a state treasure. Directors like George Cukor, quoted in a 1970s oral history, ensured camera angles flattered her wigs, while publicists spun stories of natural radiance. Fans bought it, mesmerized by the bombshell who seemed to defy biology. Harlo herself rarely spoke of it, but co-star Clark Gable, in a private letter cited in a 1990s biography, noted her frustration with the endless styling sessions. Her wigs weren't just cover-ups, they were art. Each role demanded a new variation: soft waves for Bombshell, 1933, tight curls for Red Dust, 1932. The illusion held until her tragic death at 26 in 1937, when whispers of her hair struggles began to surface. Harlo's legacy as the original blonde bombshell endures, a testament to how far Hollywood would go to preserve a star's mythic glow. Fred Astaire. Cue the orchestra. A spotlight hits Fred Astaire, his top hat gleaming as he glides across the floor in Top Hat, 1935. His elegance was unmatched, every step a poem, every gesture a song. But beneath the polish, Astaire hid a secret that even his nimble feet couldn't outdance: a balding crown, concealed by a collection of impeccable toupees. Astaire's hair loss began in his early 30s, as noted in a 1960s interview with his choreographer Hermes Pan, archived in dance history journals. By the time he partnered with Ginger Rogers, his iconic slicked-back look was often a wig, crafted by Hollywood's finest. These hairpieces, detailed in studio wardrobe logs, were lightweight to withstand his vigorous routines, secured with adhesives that survived spins and dips. His secret stayed safe because Astaire was a master of distraction. His dazzling footwork in Swing Time, 1936, kept eyes off his scalp, while his top hats and clever styling, pompadours for Shall We Dance, 1937, side parts for The Bandwagon, 1953, added flair. Off-screen, he was candid with close friends. Rogers, in her 1991 memoir, recalled Astaire joking about his dance partner upstairs, meaning his toupee. Astaire's legacy as a dance legend overshadows any follicular flaws. His wigs were tools, not crutches, letting him focus on what mattered: the rhythm. Fans never noticed, and cinematographers, as noted in 1940s film journals, used soft lighting to blur any edges. Astaire proved that true stardom shines from within, no matter what's on top. Vivian Lee. Scarlett O'Hara stood defiant in Gone with the Wind, 1939, her dark curls framing a face that carried the weight of a nation. Vivian Lee, the woman behind Scarlett, embodied that strength, but off-screen, she faced battles that left her vulnerable, including the quiet struggle with hair loss. Her wigs, like Scarlett's resolve, became a shield against Hollywood's relentless gaze. Lee's hair troubles stemmed from stress and health challenges. Biographies like Hugo Vickers' Vivian Lee, 1988, detail how her bipolar disorder and tuberculosis exacerbated thinning hair during her 30s. By A Streetcar Named Desire, 1951, wigs were a staple. Costume designer Lucinda Ballard, quoted in a 1970s theater archive, described Lee's wigs as delicate masterpieces, crafted to match her natural chestnut locks. Lee's relationship with wigs was complex. She embraced them for roles. Blonde for Blanche Du Bois, dark for Anna Karenina, 1948, but privately, she felt exposed. Letters to friends, published in collections like Love, Vivian, 1992, hint at her insecurity about aging and beauty standards. Yet her performances never faltered. Wigs gave her freedom to inhabit characters without fear of scrutiny. The studio system protected her. MGM's publicity machine, as noted in 1940s trade papers, ensured no whispers of her hair loss reached the public. Lee's elegance, paired with wigs that mimicked her natural texture, kept the illusion intact. Her story reflects the pressure to remain flawless, a burden she carried with grace, even as her health faltered. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, Old Blue Eyes, the voice that melted hearts and filled stadiums. His slicked back hair and tilted fedora were as much a part of his charm as that velvet croon. But underneath all that, there was something so well hidden and profound, his hairline called curtains, while his voice still rang strong. By the 1950s, Frankie's hairline was taking a bow, and his secret weapon to hide that? A collection of toupees that kept him looking like the chairman of the board. Sinatra's balding was no secret to his inner circle. Dean Martin, in a 1980s interview quoted in Sinatra, The Life, 2005, teased that Frank had a toupee guy on speed dial. Studio records from Capitol, accessible through music archives, show he invested in custom hairpieces from Max Factor, designed to withstand stage lights and late-night gigs. Each piece was tailored, jet black for From Here to Eternity, 1953, salt and pepper for The Manchurian Candidate, 1962. Frank played it cool. He'd swap hats, fedora, trilby, or none, depending on the vibe, but the wig stayed put. His makeup artist, Charles Schramm, noted in a 1970s Variety piece that Sinatra's routine was meticulous. Adhesive checks before every performance, spares on hand for emergencies. Fans never caught on, dazzled by his swagger. Sinatra's toupees weren't just about vanity, they were his armor in a world that worshipped youth. He once quipped, per a friend's anecdote in Mr. S., 2003, "If the hair goes, the mystique follows." And he wasn't wrong. His flawless image kept the crowds coming, proving that style, not strands, made the man. Rita Hworth. Rita Hworth glowed in Technicolor, her auburn hair a fiery cascade in Gilda, 1946. She was the pin-up queen, her red locks as iconic as her sultry smile. But that radiant mane was a studio-crafted illusion, hiding the toll of Hollywood's beauty machine. Hworth's hair loss began with her transformation into a star. Studio head Harry Cohn, as detailed in If This Was Happiness, 1989, demanded her hairline be reshaped with electrolysis to create a higher forehead. The process, combined with constant dyeing, damaged her scalp irreparably. By CoverGirl, 1944, wigs were her go-to, crafted by Columbia Pictures' wardrobe team to match her natural texture. These wigs were works of art. Costume designer Gwen Wakeling, in a 1960s interview preserved in film archives, described how Hworth's hairpieces were hand-knotted for realism, with shades of red that shifted under studio lights. On set, she was flawless. Her dance scenes in You Were Never Lovelier, 1942, show no hint of artifice. Off-screen, Hworth was private about her struggles. Friends, quoted in Rita Hworth, The Time, The Place, 1992, said she felt trapped by the image she'd created, yet her wigs allowed her to embody the goddess fans adored. The studio's publicity machine, per Variety reports from the 1940s, ensured her secret stayed buried, leaving only the legend of her luminous beauty. Laurence Olivier. To watch Laurence Olivier was to witness a chameleon. In Hamlet, 1948, he brooded with tousled locks. In Richard III, 1955, his hair was a jagged crown of ambition. Yet, like the characters he played, Olivier's hair was a performance, a series of wigs that transformed him while hiding a thinning scalp. Olivier's hair loss was evident by his 40s, as noted in Laurence Olivier, a biography, 1996. His stage and screen roles demanded versatility, and wigs became his canvas. Costume designer Anthony Mendelsohn, in a 1970s theater journal, explained how Olivier collaborated with wig makers to craft pieces that matched each character's soul, long and wild for Othello, 1965, sleek for Wuthering Heights, 1939. Like Macbeth's haunted visions, Olivier's wigs cloaked his vulnerabilities. He once mused, per a 1960s BBC interview, that an actor's mask is his truth. His toupees were more than cover-ups. They were tools to inhabit kings and rogues. Studio lighting, as described in 1950s cinematography texts, softened any edges, while his commanding presence distracted from scrutiny. Olivier's genius lay in making the artificial feel real. Co-stars like Vivian Lee, in private letters, praised his ability to become his roles, wig and all. His legacy as a titan of acting endures, proving that true transformation comes not from hair, but from heart. Lana Turner. Lana Turner, Hollywood's scandal magnet. Her blonde curls as famous as her tabloid headlines. In The Postman Always Rings Twice, 1946, her sultry locks screamed femme fatale, but the gossip pages of the 1940s buzzed with a juicier story. Lana's hair wasn't always her own. Turner's hair loss began with overstyling as detailed in Lana, The Lady, the Legend, 1982. Constant bleaching and tight curls weakened her scalp, and by Ziegfeld Girl, 1941, wigs were her secret weapon. MGM's wardrobe logs, preserved in studio archives, list her custom hairpieces, each designed to match her bombshell image. A 1947 photoplay article hinted at the truth when a windy on-set photo showed an unnatural hairline sparking whispers. The rumor mill churned. Co-star John Garfield, in a private anecdote cited in a 1990s biography, recalled a near mishap when a wig shifted during a passionate scene. Turner laughed it off, but the incident fueled set gossip. Publicists worked overtime, per Variety reports, to squash the story, framing her hair as studio-enhanced for glamour. Turner leaned into the drama. Her wigs, voluminous for Green Dolphin Street, 1947, sleek for Cass Timberlane, 1947, kept her image untouchable. Fans, dazzled by her charisma, barely noticed. Her story reminds us that in Hollywood, even the juiciest secrets are just part of the show. Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn stormed the screen like a tempest, his sword flashing in Captain Blood 1935, his dark hair tousled by imaginary seas. He was the swashbuckler supreme, but his heroic mane was a Hollywood illusion, crafted to hide a receding hairline that threatened his roguish charm. Flynn's balding started young, as noted in Errol Flynn, The Untold Story, 1980. By his 30s, toupees were standard for roles. Studio wardrobe logs from Warner Brothers, accessible through film archives, detail his wigs: wind-resistant for the Seahawk, 1940, rakish for The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938. A 1939 on-set anecdote, recounted in a 1970s biography, describes a near disaster when a gusty scene loosened his hairpiece, saved only by quick-thinking crew. Flynn played it bold. He'd jest about his scalp insurance with co-stars like Olivia de Havilland, per her memoir excerpts, but never publicly. His wigs were designed for action, secured with adhesives that withstood sword fights and stunts. Cinematographers, as noted in 1940s trade journals, used high angles to mask any tells. His larger-than-life persona, pirate, lover, rebel, kept the focus off his hair. Flynn's wigs weren't just cover-ups, they were part of the adventure, letting him sail through Hollywood's stormy expectations with his legend intact. Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich was a vision, her platinum hair glowing like moonlight in Shanghai Express, 1932. Her icy beauty was a calculated masterpiece, and her wigs were the brushstrokes that painted her surreal persona. Beneath the glamour, Dietrich's natural hair thinned, a secret she sculpted into art. Dietrich's hair loss, noted in Marlene, 1989, began in her 30s, worsened by constant styling and bleaching. By The Blue Angel, 1930, she relied on wigs crafted by German artisans, later refined by Hollywood's Max Factor. Studio records preserved in film archives describe her hairpieces as sculptural, designed to catch light and enhance her angular features. She embraced wigs as tools of reinvention. In Destry Rides Again, 1939, her tousled curls were a wig. In Morocco, 1930, her sleek bob was another. Dietrich, quoted in a 1960s Vogue interview, called her look a painting, not a photograph. Her meticulous control, adjusting wigs to match lighting, as noted by cinematographer Lee Garms, ensured flawless illusion. Fans saw only the goddess. Co-stars like Gary Cooper, in private letters, praised her discipline. Dietrich's wigs weren't about hiding, they were about creating a beauty that transcended nature, proving that true icons craft their own myths. Carrie Grant. Carrie Grant was the definition of suave, his polished hair as timeless as his smile in North by Northwest, 1959. But behind the debonair charm lay a quiet insecurity, a thinning scalp concealed by wigs that evolved with his career. Grant's hair loss began in his 40s, as detailed in Carrie Grant, a biography, 2004. By his Girl Friday, 1940, he used discreet toupees crafted by Hollywood's top wig makers. Studio logs from RKO, accessed via film archives, show his hairpieces were tailored for each role: sleek for Suspicion, 1941, fuller for An Affair to Remember, 1957. Grant was private about it. Co-star Katharine Hepburn, in a 1980s interview, noted his obsession with looking the part, hinting at his reliance on wigs. He avoided roles that risked exposure, favoring suits and clever comb-overs. Cinematographers, per 1950s trade papers, used soft focus to blur any edges. His wigs reflected his evolution, from youthful charmer to seasoned icon. Grant's charm, not his hair, defined him, but his meticulous image control ensured fans saw only the effortless star, never the man behind the mirror. Bette Davis. Bette Davis stared down Hollywood with those fierce eyes, her hair a crown of defiance in All About Eve, 1950. But as she aged, her battle wasn't just with roles, it was with beauty standards that demanded youth. Wigs became her weapon, not to hide, but to reinvent. Davis's hair loss, noted in The Lonely Life, 1962, stemmed from stress and harsh styling. By Jezebel, 1938, she used wigs for complex period styles, and by her 50s, they were a necessity. Costume designer Edith Head, in a 1970s Variety interview, described Davis's wigs as characters themselves, crafted to match her role's intensity. Wild curls for The Letter, 1940, severe buns for Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, 1962. Davis was unapologetic. In letters published in Bette Davis, A Life, 1995, she wrote of embracing wigs to own the stage. She worked with wig makers to ensure authenticity, rejecting anything too perfect. Her fans, per 1950s fan magazines, saw only her power, not her struggles. Davis's wigs were tools of transformation, letting her defy time and expectations. Her legacy proves that boldness, not beauty, makes a star immortal. Danny Kaye. Danny Kaye was a whirlwind of laughter, his red hair bouncing as he sang and danced in The Court Jester, 1955. His comedic genius lit up the screen, but his thinning scalp? That was a punchline he kept to himself, hidden under wigs that matched his high-energy antics. Kaye's hair loss began in his 30s, as noted in Danny Kaye, King of Jesters, 1991. By White Christmas, 1954, he relied on toupees crafted to withstand his physical comedy. Studio wardrobe logs, preserved in Paramount archives, detail his wigs, bright red for Hans Christian Andersen, 1952, tousled for Knock on Wood, 1954. Kaye played it for laughs. Co-star Bing Crosby, in a 1970s interview, recalled Kaye joking about his scalp stunt double during rehearsals. A rare blooper from The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, 1947, mentioned in fan forums, showed a wig slip, quickly edited out. His energy distracted from any flaws, and cinematographers used wide shots to keep the focus on his performance. Kaye's wigs were as lively as his characters, letting him tumble through scenes without worry. His charm, not his hair, won hearts, proving that laughter outshines any imperfection. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo was Hollywood's eternal enigma, her luminous face a canvas of longing and mystery in films like Camille, 1936. Her soft, golden waves framed an ethereal beauty, drawing audiences into her silent world. Yet, as she retreated from fame, whispering, "I want to be alone," Garbo carried a private burden, thinning hair, concealed by meticulously crafted wigs, and her iconic head wraps. Her story is not merely one of vanity, but of a woman sculpting her myth while shielding her vulnerabilities from a world that demanded perfection. Garbo's hair loss began in her early 30s, a fact delicately noted in Barry Paris's biography Garbo, 1990. The stress of fame, coupled with minimal styling and a distaste for Hollywood's relentless beauty rituals, took a toll on her scalp. By the time she starred in Grand Hotel, 1932, her signature waves were often wigs, designed by MGM's master craftsman under the direction of costume designer Adrian. His notes, preserved in studio archives at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, describe Garbo's hairpieces as ethereal extensions of her soul, crafted from fine human hair to mimic her natural texture. Each wig was tailored to enhance her otherworldly presence. Soft curls for Queen Christina, 1933, sleek bobs for Ninotchka, 1939, ensuring that no camera angle betrayed the illusion. Her reliance on wigs was more than practical. It was a shield. Garbo, fiercely private, loathed the scrutiny of stardom. In a rare 1930s interview with Photoplay, she deflected questions about her beauty routine, saying only, "The face is enough." But behind closed doors, as recounted in The Genius and the Goddess, 2009, she confided in friends like Salka Viertel about the pressure to remain flawless. Her iconic turbans and scarves, seen in Mata Hari, 1931, and later candid photos, were not just fashion statements, but strategic camouflage. These accessories, often silk or velvet, wrapped her thinning scalp in elegance, blending style with secrecy. Studio publicists, as noted in 1930s Variety reports, spun these head wraps as exotic chic, diverting attention from any whispers about her hair. Garbo's relationship with her wigs was deeply personal. Costume designer Adrian, in a 1960s oral history, recalled her meticulous oversight, adjusting each piece to catch the light just so, enhancing her sculpted cheekbones. She worked closely with cinematographer William Daniels, whose lighting techniques, detailed in 1930s film journals, softened any potential wig lines, ensuring her mystique remained unbroken. Co-star John Barrymore, in letters published posthumously, wrote of her guarded nature. Greta's solitude was her armor, and her beauty was her shield. Her wigs were part of that armor, allowing her to control the narrative of her image. When Garbo left Hollywood in 1941 at age 36, after Two-Faced Woman, her retreat was as much about escaping fame's demands as preserving her enigma. Candid photos from the 1940s and 1950s, archived in the New York Public Library's collections, show her in wide-brimmed hats and scarves, still guarding her scalp's secrets. Unlike her peers, she never returned to the screen, choosing a life of privacy in New York. Her wigs, like her silence, were a choice, a way to maintain dignity in an industry that prized youth above all. Garbo's legacy endures not for her hair, but for the haunting depth she brought to every role. Her wigs were tools of transformation, letting her embody queens and courtesans while protecting the woman beneath. In a world obsessed with surfaces, Garbo crafted a beauty that was both illusion and truth, leaving behind a shadow that still captivates. Her story reminds us that even the brightest stars shine through carefully chosen masks, their vulnerabilities hidden in plain sight. Hollywood's golden age was a tapestry of illusion, where beauty was crafted and legends were polished to perfection. These 15 stars, icons of glamour, grit, and grace, wore wigs not out of vanity, but as armor in a world that demanded flawlessness. From Elizabeth Taylor's raven locks to Greta Garbo's veiled mystery, their hairpieces were tools of survival, letting them shine under pressure. Each story reveals a truth. Stardom isn't about what's real, but what's believed. Which reveal left you stunned? Drop it in the comments and let's keep the conversation going. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe for more Hollywood secrets. Next up, we're peeling back the curtain on Hollywood's plastic surgery secrets before filters were a thing. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching.